Hey guys, it's Matt. You know I get on those in our community that have overused or misused the term hijacked. Sometimes the word hijack, though, is appropriate, and I'm going to use it here. Now, the old guard probably knows this topic. I think I'm going to dive into it a little bit differently than you may expect. Many of you won't know this. This is one of the biggest giveaways of all time that this reality is hijacked and adulterated and bastardized. If you conduct a survey almost anywhere in the world, not just the United States, Canada, and Western Europe, almost anywhere in the world, including places like India, potentially China, pick which one represents the symbol of medicine. 70 to 80% or more in some countries will pick Hermes Caduceus. They will not select the staff of Asclepius or the Rod of Asclepius. The pronunciation is very difficult. I trust this guy on YouTube named Julian. There's all sorts of different pronunciations. Like sleep, the way to remember it, and it's one of the hardest things to remember. I've had to refer to the pronunciation. Every time I've ever looked at this, I forget how to say it. I have to go back, and I've looked at it several times over the years. It's like the best way to remember. Sleepy, you're getting sleepy. Asclepius. Okay, I think that is correct. Just because there's a snake, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Forget about that for now. There is a real true origin, and it makes sense to a degree, why the rod or staff of Asclepius was the symbol of medicine going back to Greek myth and Greek gods 1,000 years BC or long before Christ. How this Caduceus came in to dominate the practice of medicine and the symbol most associated with the practice of medicine, especially pharmaceutical, is an absolute giveaway as to the complete bastardization and hijack of this reality. If you're ever talking with anybody that's at all open to these sorts of conversations, this conversation is a nice entree to get people to, the few people that are interested, get them to notice that the world is not what's presented. Now, if that was a little long-winded, let me summarize it in 15 seconds. The Rod of Asclepius, in terms of presenting itself as the symbol of medicine, it makes sense if you trace its lineage or history. It makes sense. You know, whether you want to get upset at the snake or not, that's not the point. The Caduceus, which is Hermes' staff, has no bitterness. No bitterness. You'll never forget it. It has no business being representation of medicine and healing. No bitterness whatsoever. Guys, like Not Milk Travel Tours, do I have a series called Bullshit Backstories? I have so many series, and I pledge to see them all through. I honestly don't even know. I forget. Your series are a waste of time, McKinley. If I don't have it, we're going to start Bullshit Backstories. The way this Not Milk presents the history of all its false presentations is one of the most fascinating things of all time. And this one might take the cake. How everybody started to adopt the Caduceus. See, it all goes back to, and this is a real story, they would never lie to us. In 1902, the U.S. Army Medical Corps. That's an Obama homophone, not homo, but homophone. Isn't that when it's two words sound the same but supposedly have different meanings, but it's supposed to be the same meanings? The Medical Corps, C-O-R-P-S-E, like a corpse in a coffin. The U.S. Army Medical Corps ceased to corpses. Sorry, but that's a whole nother video. A captain in the U.S. Army Medical Corps, not corpse, Obama, mistakenly identified the Caduceus as the Rod of Asclepius. Oh, they made a mistake, and they introduced one of the most esoteric and occult symbols of all time into the U.S. Army Medical Corps, where they send their armies out to make corpses. I get it. Oh, you'd have to be one of those people to not believe the official story. Oh, I see. In 1902, they just got it wrong. Why not the year 1911? Why not the year 1933, reality, where you'll give yourself away? In the year 1902, somebody made a mistake. And then this was carried forth for years. And that mistake compounded like that shampoo commercial. And they told two friends, and they told two friends, and so on, until the whole world believes that the Caduceus, oh, I see. Why didn't the American Medical Association or anybody correct the mistake? Then only 15 people would have been fooled instead of 6.5 billion. What an absolute joke. New series, Bullshit Backstories. We could do a whole YouTube channel on it. Let's get right to the conclusion. Anybody that doesn't have time or doesn't want to put up with my nonsense, this will eventually break down very soon. Obviously, this power structure that exists that runs everything called knot milk, they wanted the Caduceus of Mercury, Hermes, to be associated with medicine. I'm sure I'm no expert in all this horseshit. I'm sure it ties into commerce and big pharma and all that stuff. I'm not. Some of the astrologers are getting all bent out of shape. Hermes Trismegistus, and don't you cut up Hermes, man. He's one of the more friendly gods to the humans. I don't think any of these gods are friendly to the humans. I looked into it briefly. He's the god of thieves and of the trickster. You want to cozy up to this son of a bitch? One thing he should be the god of is growers, not showers, and I appreciate that. I don't worship that, but thank goodness there's an Olympian that's a grower, not a shower. You know, many of us men feel better when we see these sorts of Olympians with average sizes and statues. Not everybody's a shower, and typically some of the showers don't grow. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but whenever I see something like this, it makes me feel good, and I have to mention it. Let's go to the American Medical Association and see what they're using. Oh, the main office building, a main corporate headquarters, uses the rod or staff of Asclepius, and the website, it's just one snake. It's not Conan the Barbarian and Schwarzenegger. I'm searching for an emblem. Two snakes coming together. No, it's not two snakes coming together. That's Thulsa Doom. Hermes, you're Thulsa Doom, potentially. It should just be, and there's, again, we'll look at the history of this. This makes sense. Well, why didn't the American Medical Association in, say, 1905 say, why are you guys running with the rod of Hermes here? This is wrong. This needs to stop. You're bad men. Why didn't they say, put a stop to this? Matt, you're defending the AMA? You think, really? You think I'm defending the AMA? A gigantic knot milk wart on its infrastructure? Of course not. Okay. Sometimes I need to go here to make my point. Look at this. This is a history that makes a little bit of sense. Doesn't seem completely hijacked. This wasn't good enough for him. There is much confusion of the true symbol of medicine. Here we go again with bot-written stuff. There is much confusion about the true symbol of medicine. The single staff with one snake entwined is the current American Medical Association logo, the rod or staff of Asclepius. The history with a giant space between the R and the Y. The history of this ancient symbol, with a heritage stretching over 2 millennia, is shrouded in the fog of history. Of course it's shrouded in fog. That's what they do to everything. Many physicians, as well as the public, are unaware that there are two distinct and different symbols commonly used, which have two different origins and meanings. That's the whole point. For example, in a 2014 survey in India, revealed that only 6% of physicians knew that the staff of Asclepius was the true symbol of medicine. That's, again, the physicians, not the general population. That means to you and me, 94% didn't even know, and it's another example of something that's bot-driven. For example, in a 2014 survey in India, revealed, that doesn't make any sense. A second grader wouldn't write like that. For example, a 2014 survey in India revealed. You don't have the two ends so close together, bot. Learn from what I'm telling you. Last paragraph. Asclepius was the god of medicine and was the son of Apollo, the god of healing. The staff of Asclepius is a rough-hewn branch representing plants and growth, entwined by a single snake. Asclepius was known as the god of medicine. Didn't they just say that, bot? He was killed by his grandfather Zeus. This son of a beach pops up again. Killed him with a thunderbolt, no less, because not enough people were passing onto the underworld due to his healing skills. Oh, Zeus, I thought Hades was the god of the underworld. What's your interest with the underworld? You wanted more. Zeus needed more death. This person was healing too many people. He said, you're healing. You're too good. I'm going to kill you so I get more people to my brother Hades. Who's down there with Hades? Hillary Clinton. I thought there was something strange in what I just read. This is the way it's typically presented, guys. ASCL, Asclepius. Okay, I was getting confused myself because they actually spell it differently on different parts of the web. I'll go back to what I just read. I mean, the confusion Knotnilk's trying to create about this issue is really off the charts. Yeah, and what I just read, completely different spelling. I've seen a different spelling somewhere else, too, and you can't pronounce Asclepius. It'd be like Asclepius or Asclepius. Look, the Knotnilk Matt, you're not suggesting that not milk in terms of trying to muddy the waters is even messing with the spelling. That's exactly what I'm suggesting. Don't underestimate this son of a beach. Hermes, or Mercury, was the messenger of the gods and known for carrying a staff known as the Caduceus. The Caduceus included two snakes topped off with a set of wings. The Caduceus is from the Greek root meaning herald's wand and was a badge of diplomatic ambassadors associated with commerce, money, eloquence, alchemy, thievery, and lying. Look at this. And you want to cozy up to this thing? Hermes, you should be ashamed of yourself. The popularity of the Caduceus with two snakes is probably attributed to being more aesthetically appealing than the single snake on the staff of Asclepius. More aesthetically appealing? They switched over because it looked nicer? Did you just suggest that? Let me come back to this. You've got to be kidding me. They're bastardizing already ridiculous backstory. The symmetry is more balanced than the single snake. You've got to be kidding me. Let me come back to this. The Caduceus, if often used, the Caduceus is often used, not if often used, in medically related industries. Commerce, corporations, it says, such as pharmaceuticals and hospital supplies. Sell your products. I'm the hospital supply rep. Can I see the hospital manager, please? Here's where the commerce and the money comes into play, and the louche, and like what Alfred said to Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street. Remember, Santa Claus said, Alfred, you play me too? And Alfred's like, I like dressing up as you. There's a lot of bad isms in this world, and the worst one is commercialism. That's what it's all about, it seems. It's starting to take shape. What's happening here? Mercury's Caduceus took over because they have to put the commercialism and the pharmaceutical drug reps and those obnoxious people. It's all about the money and the all-powerful dollar, which is more aptly represented by the Caduceus than the single snake on the Rod of Asclepius, which just has pretty benign roots back to a supposed god that just wanted to heal people. He's just out minding his own self trying to heal people, and Zeus struck him down with a thunderbolt. Look, if you're screaming at me, I can hear you. Let me address it. Yeah, I see that the Rod of Asclepius resembles the dollar bill to a degree. Most depictions it does not. I'm not here, one last time, defending the AMA. Okay, I'm not here defending ancient Greek gods. Oh, that Asclepius was a good guy. I'm going to set a shrine up to him in my house. It's all bullshit. It's all not milk. I'm just saying, what I'm pointing out is obvious. That whatever the backstory wasn't good enough. That wasn't fitting into the spell, the dark spell they wanted to put over everybody starting, say, in the 20th century. It wasn't good enough. I'm just saying maybe what was already bad was made worse. I'm not defending the old symbolism. I don't care one bit about all this alchemical symbolism or whatever. I'm saying, and just pointing out that they took whatever was there was probably bad to begin with, and they obviously made it worse for their own aims and goals. They're sick MRFers. And let me not forget to return to the part that literally blows my mind. That is an insult to all of our intelligences or intelligence eye. This part about one looked nicer than the other. Can you believe they're trying to pass this horse shit off? Literally, you'd have to have your head up your ass. I mean, literally, to believe this. It says here, oh, well, this became more popular, Caduceus, we think, because it was more aesthetically appealing. That means it looks nicer to you and me. Then it looked better than a single snake on a staff. The symmetry, the symmetry is more balanced than this. They just did it for looks. To the people around us, these symbols, they're just pretty pictures. Matt, the American Medical Association needed some sort of a logo. Maybe they pulled somebody off the street. You people talk about these symbols or being alchemical symbols used in black magic and spells, and it's ridiculous. You know, this isn't Harry Potter, Matt. This isn't the Chamber of Secrets. It's just like a business that sells muffins. Just creates a little logo. There's nothing behind these symbols. What are you people thinking about all the time? Let's look at Hermes for a few minutes to see if there's any other reasons why they obviously wanted the entire medical industry associated with Hermes. That's why they used the Caduceus, of course, other than commerce. To me, it's clear that commerce which is energy. That's all part of it too. It doesn't matter if Hermes isn't specifically known as the god of money. Even I know that. It doesn't matter. Commerce is part of it. You think you understand every little bit of what goes on in their eyes wide shut party? Of course it's about commerce. It just gave itself away. Let's continue. Matt, stop arguing with yourself. Hermes is an Olympian deity in ancient Greek religion and mythology, considered to be the herald or messenger of the gods. Well, Pootie Tang award to you. Everybody knows that. He's also widely considered the protector of human heralds, travelers, thieves, the 40 thieves, merchants, and orators. Now, all you astrologers, like, don't you rag on my Hermes. No. See, he's the protector of human heralds or messengers. Didn't say the protector of all humans, does it? Doesn't say the protector of those that live in soil and green cities. It says of messengers, travelers, thieves, the 40 thieves, the pug uglies, merchants. That's from the beginning of Gangs of New York. Each one of the 5 points is a finger, and when I close it, it makes a fist. That's Bill Cutting. Merchants and orators. He is able to move quickly and freely between the worlds of the mortal and the divine, aided by his winged sandals. Hermes plays the role of psychopump, psychopimp. We need to look at this, or soul guide. Matt, you're not suggesting he's associated with the Saturn Moon Matrix soul trap. Maybe a conductor of souls into the afterlife. Maybe this son of a bitch. See, Mercury is about communication, right? Maybe he's putting forth the false story about us being trapped. We need to look at this son of a bitch's motives a little bit closer. Okay, Mercury or Hermes, it says you're a psychopump. We certainly can't ignore this yellow breadcrumb. We have to explore it. Has any of you ever heard the word psychopump before? How about psychopimp? It's all new to me. Psychopumps, from the Greek word, those letters that they have on fraternity buildings, I thought that was all made up. It's a real alphabet? I can't read that. Psychopumpos, literally meaning the guide of souls, are creatures, spirits, angels, demons, or deities in many religions whose responsibility it is to escort newly deceased souls from earth to the afterlife. Like that dog man, Anubis. Or those channels that talk about the tricks at death. They try to, archonic beings try to get you back in the body. Maybe they're psychopumps. We need to keep this on the table. Their role is not to judge the deceased, but simply to guide them. Oh, they're friendly, appearing frequently on funerary art. Psychopimps have been depicted at different times and in different cultures as anthropomorphic entities. I think that means creatures that have human qualities, but I'm not sure. Please don't comment. Like horses, deers, dogs, deer, whippoorwills, ravens, crows, vultures, owls, sparrows, and cuckoos. In the case of birds, these are often seen in huge masses waiting outside the home of the dying. That's what Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds 2 was about. You never saw that one, did you? Okay, guys, I spent a few minutes looking at the roots of the two components of this word. Psycho mostly, means, of course, of the mind, but it also, in some definitions, means of the soul or spirit. Of course, much lesser known than of the mind or mental. Okay, but we know that, but just keep that in mind, that in some definitions, it does include soul and spirit. Now, pomp is the interesting part. A sending off or a guiding. Okay, this makes sense per the definition that they're using here. But pomp, remember, is related to pompous, pomp and circumstance. A overemphasis of self-importance comes into the definition. Pompous, a parade, a ticker tape parade. There's definition here that's a little dark, in my opinion. So again, it's not just guide. I thought it was darker than it actually is. I thought it was just a pompous guiding of the mind, which would relate back to potentially a trick, right? But again, psycho, per some definitions, does include soul and spirit, and pomp, per some definitions, is more about ascending than it is about the darker side of pompous and a celebration of oneself where that celebration doesn't deserve to exist. So I'm not going to dive any more into this. Once, as usual, the Not Milk, it can play its word games any way it wants. I'm going to take Humpty Dumpty's advice. Remember the old Humpty Dumpty video a few back? You know what it means? What we say it means. We're in control. I refuse to use its definitions for things like human. It means just like Humpty taught us. It means what we say it means. Why? Because we said so. Thanks, Humpty Dumpty and Alice in Wonderland. All right, I threw a lot at you. A lot of this was new to me. You know what's best to do at this point? Return to the absolute basics. Take the elevator all the way down to the first floor and just see where you stand on the main premise here. How strange this is, how the Caduceus was inserted over the Rod of Asclepius. Here's the basic question. Do you know of anything in this world where its logo or symbol or presentation being two snakes is a good thing? On the t-shirt here it says two snakes facing each other. I thought Conan says two snakes coming together. We'll explore the Mandela effect ramifications of that later. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe I just... Two snakes facing each other or coming together. Now, in Conan, that's used by Thulsa Doom. Thulsa Doom has actually a personal dagger with two snakes intertwined. Thulsa Doom, who just like the Queen, he can go back and forth between being a snake and James Earl Jones. Okay, so is it ever a good thing? I can't think of anything. Are you going to say, well, Matt, I got a coffee maker here that I didn't know the brand. It makes the damn good fresh roasted drip coffee I've ever had. It's got two snakes coming together. That's a good thing. Or I've got a back massager. You plug that. It was only $40. You plug it in. You set it up behind your pillow and it's got two snakes. It's a wonderful thing. I don't think anybody can tell me that it's two snakes, whenever that's presented, represents a good thing or a pure thing. So why the heck would, I guess those that bow down to the astrology of Mercury or you know, they're gonna defend it. They're gonna defend the Caduceus. To me, I'm sorry. The presentation of two snakes, I'm more with Conan on this. It's not a good thing. And you know, I return to the basic level and say, if they wanted to present this associated with medicine, then I'm sorry, that's not a good thing. Talk about candidates for my new series, Bullshit Backstories, the Nike Swish or Nike Loco on t-shirts and sneakers. Let's see what the official story is, because it's always correct. The Nike Swish is the iconic logo of Nike, the world's most recognizable sports brand. Designed in 1971 by Carolyn Davidson, a graphic design student at... We're normal African students. We're not princes from Zamunda. Give me a break. The swoosh is inspired by the wings of the Greek goddess of victory. Nike symbolizes speed, blah, blah, blah. Davidson was paid $35 for the design, which took her about 3 weeks. 3 weeks? You could do 2 seconds. 17.5 hours to perfect. Okay, here's another, Matt, the Reality Gives Away Too Many Details series. Let's start with the basics. And I've looked into this a little further, guys. Phil Knight said, I'm not so sure, but it might grow on me. Oh, sure. Just some graphic design student. Do you realize you know, again, this is beyond my pay grade, the esoteric, occult, hermetic significance, alchemical significance of the Nike Swoosh? What an insult to our intelligence. I paid this woman, Carolyn Davis. Did they ever go back and try to give her a little bit more? Like, here's an extra $200. Did they ever give her maybe a gift certificate to Target? Did they do anything for her? We made a deal. $35 is $35. It's actually worth over $20 billion today, they say. The logo itself is worth over $20 billion. Here's more fodder for another series I may start. Reality gives itself away as being a fake reality when these stories give too many details, which they always do. 17.5 hours to perfect the logo. There's no possible way that would have ever been recorded. Now, guys, I remember in 3rd grade, the first kid to get Nike sneakers. And for some reason, he raved about them. And this kid was rather popular. You know, he was the big football player and he could beat everybody else up. And people generally, he was a trendsetter. He got them first. And, you know, I don't think that's a coincidence. I just don't. The Nike spell in this reality is very, very powerful. I don't know any other way to talk about it. So what a coincidence that The kid in our elementary school that was most influential was the first one to get the Nikes. And he wasn't like Mr. Style. He basically just wore jeans and a t-shirt. Anyway, whatever. And soon, I remember 2 years later, 5th, 6th grade, we all had Nikes. Now, again, this brand, let's just go back to whatever it was, whenever I was in 3rd grade, it was an unknown. I mean, Nike didn't at all get household name big until the early 80s. When he was supposedly selling Nikes, Phil Knight, out of the back for years or months out of a trunk of a car. So again, the logo, if the story is real, then there wouldn't be. Of course, we know it's all meant to be. It's all planned out 100 years in advance by Not Milk, and we know the esoteric occult symbolism when they choose these sorts of symbols. But they make it seem like it was just, pay somebody $35, and Phil Knight said, well, it may grow on me. So nobody really cared about and he didn't know he was going to make it big, right? When that 3rd grade kid just got his first pair. So nobody would have ever recorded how long it took to get it right. See what I'm saying? If they knew it would eventually be worth $20 billion, then she would have logged all the time spent. Phil would have said, how long did you spend on it? She would have said, several hours more than I thought. That would have been the end of it. The fact that reality records the 17.5, yeah, if anybody's screaming at me, oh, that's the 13. Yeah, that's how they do business. You don't want a Pootie Tang award. We know everything they do is about the gematria. I'm just pointing out, when you see this level of detail in backstories, it really exposes a false reality. One last time, there's no possible way the design student recorded exactly how long she worked on this. I don't know what regular people would say about this. This is so obvious and common sense to us, but I guess, I don't know, if I presented this to my friend Tony, he'd believe it, and we'd be one of those people. Well, Jeff, I was thinking to mention to you earlier in this video that the 33 hadn't presented itself to us yet, or the year 1911, or the year 1933. And I was saying, how much is Phil, I was just asking myself, how much is Phil Knight, the founder and CEO or whatever of Nike, worth related to this Carolyn, the design student? It's like Caitlin Bree, what was it? She was a design student who was going back to date Dante from Clerks or whatever. And I look it up just to see if he would have, just to check to see if he would have any extra money to pay Carolyn a little extra something. She got the $35. Mr. Pink at the diner would say, Carolyn's not starving. She's making minimum wage. She got the $35 from Phil Knight. $33.5 billion. Okay, it says, I knew the 33 at some point would make a presentation, Jeff. I know you're not surprised, Jeff. It happens to you more than it happens to me. Oh boy, look at this. Let the breadcrumbs continue. Phil Hampton Knight is an American billionaire businessman, co-founder, Nike, all the way at the bottom, blah, 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 blah. As of December 2023, Forbes estimated his net worth at $45 billion. Okay. Born February 24th, 1938, 86-year-old. Net worth now, $33 billion. Somebody's trying to tell me that his net worth corresponds to the Nike stock price. Pootie Tang Award. I had no idea that he actually owns shares in the company of which he founded. But right now, I can't be sure of this, and I wouldn't push all my roulette chips on this number. I'm going to say one of the most insane things ever put out in the truth community, and I'm going to half believe it. That's how insane I'm going. I'm saying potentially his net worth was lowered simply so the reality could make the 33 presentation in some way. What? So the Not Milk brought all of Nike down so his net worth could make a 33? Again, I'm not putting this forth as my number one theory of all time, like I'm sure about John McEnroe yelling up at the star Sirius, you cannot be serious. I'm just saying it's actually possible. That's how strange I think this reality is. Now, the trolls will cut and paste what I said. Matt thinks they adjust net worth just to put the 33 out. I'm saying if I had to pick, I would say no. I would say there may be legitimate business reasons even why the Nike stock went down over the last 7 months and his net worth fell in the same manner. Okay, I would pick that. I'm not completely insane yet. I'm just saying when you've seen so many bizarre things as we've seen. Jeff, I haven't, emailed with Jeff for a while, but he used to provide a lot of information about his breadcrumb chase. Every time he'd turn around, it would be the year 1911 and another 33 presentation and another 9 combined with the 11. It just was endless. And in this world, I'm just saying, you get to a point where it's so bizarre, you would say actually his net worth in some way, it needs to correspond with reality needing to make a 33 presentation. Now, again, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying just to put that on the table as possible tells you how strange this place is in terms of the people that have researched it for as long as we have. Matt, the first part of your presentation about comparing the Rod of Asclepius with the Caduceus, that was intelligent, it made sense, I turned the volume up, and now people have overheard me listening to you. You've embarrassed me, Matt. There several people walked by as I was listening to the last part. There's always a chance to be embarrassed when listening to me. It's not my fault. If you've been here for more than a few weeks, you should put the damn Walkman head. Do they still have those Walkmans? Put the headphones on. Yes, I can embarrass you at any time. The reality is an embarrassment. I'm just reacting to it. Okay, more fodder for the Reality Gives Itself Away series with bullshit backstories. April 1964. Phil Knight's, the co-founder of Nike's, first shipment of shoes arrived from Japan. Put your hands out. First shipment from Japan, 1964. He then left his accountancy job and all that spring did nothing but sell the shoes out of the boot of his car. Boot of his car? What is this, the old English being presented? Who wrote this? Chaucer? In the United States, with Jack Nicholson in that movie, in this country, we call it the trunk of his car, the boot of his car. Who trained the bot to bring forth the Canterbury Tales Old English? To quote Knight, my sales strategy was simple and I thought rather brilliant. I drove all over the Pacific Northwest to various track meets. Between races, I'd chat up the coaches, the runners, and the fans and show them my wares. The response was always the same. I couldn't write orders fast enough. Oh, sure. He didn't get any help from Not Milk. Let's analyze this brilliant strategy. You got in your car and you drove hundreds of miles a day to high schools to sell your shit. That's your brilliant strategy? Well, they didn't got no internet. Okay, but I'm not calling it brilliant, am I? You put in the hard work, but it certainly isn't brilliant just bringing a load of sneakers in the back of a trunk to track meets. And what's this bullshit? Who would buy this bullshit? Between races. So they're going to have the men's 100, then the women's 400 hurdles. Between races, he'd go and try to talk to the coaches. The coaches would be like, sir, I don't care what you have in that bag. You look like Santa Claus. Maybe later I'll look at your horse shit. It says right here, it's all lies. Between races. I'm coaching 2 track teams, sir, men's and women's at the same time. I've got a strategy plan for the women's 400. We're doing the handoff with the baton. The next race, they're just 4 or 5 minutes between races. I can't talk to you about your freaking sneakers in your bag like Santa Claus between races. Now wait for me in the locker room after the entire meet, and I'll give you 2 minutes of my time. Other than that, I'm calling the police. The fans would have been the same way. He would have sat at the end of the bleachers, taking sneakers out of his bag. Hand these down, please. Just keep the sneakers coming. Hand them down, hand them all the way down the line. Now, as these sneakers are handed down to you, I'm trying to watch the race. What is this horse shit? Who's handing me sneakers? And some of them smell. I'm trying to watch the race. This guy's handing out sneakers. I don't care about your shit, sir. You want to be thrown out of here? And finally, the biggest lie of all. It says between races, between the 100 meters and the 200 meters. He'd chat up coaches, runners, and fans. Runners, the high school kids. He approached the kids that just got done the damn race. This is ridiculous. Just like Lefty, I guess, from Sesame Street. Hey, bub. Psst, Ernie. Hey, Ernie, did you just run the 100 meters? Come over here. I got some. I'm not buying your air in a bottle again. I ain't got air in a bottle. I want to show you my sneakers. Hey, bub. I just got done running the race. I'm still out of breath. And I don't have any money to buy your shit. Talk to my parents. He said, it says, quote unquote, he tried to sell his shit to the runners, which would mean high school kids. Is that he should have been thrown in jail. Okay, we got a little bit too far from the original purpose of this video to compare and contrast the Rod of Asclepius with the Caduceus and what the Not Milk is up to regarding the horrible medical infrastructure of the West. We got a little too, but when the reality gives itself away to this degree and gives me this much material for my new series, I have to run with it. I'm sorry. Now this relates back to the point I wanted to make regarding Nike, back to, again, Hermes, And Nike is the, I know, god of victory, and we'll talk about all that. This relates back, again, remember how this video started. Rod of Asclepius versus the Caduceus. Now, you ask people, what is the Nike Swish? And before you answer, oh, okay, calm down, put your hands down in the back of the classroom, put your spitballs down. Do you think, or we know by now, even a third grade truther knows that what the official story through official channels is going to be is not what they really mean for it or what they really believe in their Eyes Wide Shut party, right? Does what's in the Eyes Wide Shut party always make it out to Wikipedia or almost never? See, yeah. So if they tell me that it's just simply the god of victory, it makes perfect sense, Matt. Nike is a Greek and Roman god, represented victory. Nike's about sports. Well, that's all there is to it. Usually, as we know when we study the dark reality called the outer screen or asshole dark, that's not all there is to it. If they tell me it's simply the wings of Nike, then I'm inclined to believe it's something else, occult or esoteric, which means only they truly understand it. In most cases, the Wikipedia presentation is 179 degrees away from the truth. Okay, this is a perfect image to use right now. Apparently, this is an ancient statue of the goddess of victory, Nike. Nike. It's so old and ancient, the head is missing. So does the swoosh really look like her wings? That Carolyn whoever from Davenport that did the original swoosh, it took her 17.5 hours. She recorded every single minute like an attorney would record, all the time they put in on the Penske file. Which in 17.5 hours, she couldn't make it a little bit more like the Nike wing. Nike, the goddess, does not present herself with little swooshes. The winged goddess. Carolyn, I bet, as a Caitlin Bree design major, could have actually drawn a logo that looks more like a wing, if that's what Phil Knight intended. Is that a stretch? Is that just a conspiracy theorist spouting out nonsense? So therefore, and obviously it's never what the Wikipedia says. Therefore, the swoosh means something else. Yeah, I can hear you from the back, truthers. I can hear you. Don't have to throw the spitballs or put the spitballs in the straws. I hear you. This isn't my first conspiracy video, if you didn't know that. Yeah, you're saying it could be the rings of Saturn. You know what? It could be the rings of Saturn. But in this case, I'm going to open up the possibility related to the point of this video, the Rod of Asclepius versus Caduceus, that it is the winged sandals of Hermes, of Mercury. Okay, let's look at the winged sandals of Mercury and see if it looks more like the Nike Swish or this wing from the goddess Nike. All right, it's not exact, but to me, the Nike Swoosh is much closer to the winged sandals of Mercury, Hermes, than it is the real wings of Nike. I've also been doing this long enough to be completely convinced that when the authority of this world tells you what something is, it's almost never that. So if it tells me it's the goddess Nike, then I know they meant it to be something else that they probably will only talk about when the pigs in blankets are going around in the Eyes Wide Shut party with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. Yeah, it could be the rings of Saturn, of course. I mean, I don't know enough to ever take that off the table, and that's not what they say it is. So therefore, I have to keep it on the table. The whole point is, potentially, remember we were looking at the relationship potentially between the Caduceus put over the whole medical industry and commerce, where in some way Mercury and Hermes in some way related to commerce. Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to go back and do undergraduate studies on astrology and the ancient Greek gods to try to make that. All I can do is float this idea that if Nike, Phil Knight, intended that swoosh to be Hermes and Mercury, not Nike, not Saturn. Okay, it's one of the three. If it's Hermes, Mercury regarding Nike, then that by itself links Hermes or the Caduceus to commerce. And without jumping into this for 10 years and doing 7 years in Tibet, I would say it just kind of, I don't know anything other than what the message kind of screams out at me per how long I've been looking at this sort of thing, how long I've been studying the dark adversary of the screen, that the Caduceus, supplanted the Rod of Asclepius. Oh boy, I'm getting, Matt, you're getting a little mentally worn out. Even by the name itself, I am. One of the main reasons for that was commerce. a way to destroy people's health without doing anything else is to turn it into a money-making enterprise. I mean, the not milk really doesn't even have to be any more devious. If it turns the medical industry into a business where billions of dollars slosh around a second with that much money, and then the stakes of the almighty dollar, you can ruin people's health just by introducing that into the medical industry alone, and then bow out after. I mean, I don't think they ever bowed out. I was aware of what they brought the world in 2020, but I'm just saying that by itself, they turned it into the biggest business of all time. And I think without venturing to the 7 years in Tibet, that the Caduceus and Mercury is somehow related to whatever they imposed on the medical industry in the beginning or middle part of the 20th century. Let me go back to this image just to wrap this presentation up, and wrap it up in a different way. Instead of talking about the grand spiritual battle taking place, I'm going to speak to the Spitballers in the back of the Amish classroom for 3 or 4 minutes to wrap this up. Yeah, and whenever I speak to them, they start loading spitballs and straws. Put the straws down. Pay attention for once. Don't you ever want to get from 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade truth up to, say, 8th or 9th grade? Don't you ever want to go higher? Like Molly Ringwald said to Ted when they were sitting in the car, when they were talking about Jake Ryan, she said, you could come back next summer as a completely normal human being. And Ted said, yeah? You think you could do that, Spitballers? You have to just break your habits. Stop with the addiction. Okay, just pay attention. Okay, here's how the reality works. This box here, where some blogger is going to write about 9 surprising facts you didn't know about the Nike Swish logo. Oh, sure. They're going to share all that with some stupid-ass blogger from some website. There could be I didn't look at it, and I'm not going to look at it. There could be a few things in the 9 that are correct, but it's mostly going to be to throw you off, and the real reasons, the real esoteric and occult and hermetic and alchemical reasons or whatever, all that shit beyond my pay grade, all the real reasons they use that symbol to harness their energy and their loosh, they'll never ever share with an idiot blogger or website that wants to talk about 9 surprising facts you didn't know about Nike's Swish logo. The message to the Spitballers in the back is, when you see an article, I know the old guard knows this, and I appreciate you still being here. If you see this sort of thing, it's a waste of time. When things are this important to not milk, like the Nike Swoosh, worth over $20 billion, the real reason they're never going to share it is some idiot blogger on a WordPress website. Thanks for listening.